This video will explain why you need a Mikrotik router with the best practices configurations installed for your protection. Best of all, we're talking about a under $50 router which has the security capabilities of a $2,000 router. This is because the Mikrotik routers all use the same operating system, have the same capabilities. The only difference in price has to do with the hardware that the router contains. For home use, you don't need hundreds of connections for users. You just have a few users. Therefore, it takes minimal hardware to route all of these few users at your home or small office. Because of this, you don't need the expensive router, which has much higher hardware capabilities. And this is why you can get an under $50 router that has the capabilities of a $2,000 router. Your network devices are no longer connected to the telco router. Instead, the Mikrotik router simply plugs into the telco router, and that becomes a gateway for the Mikrotik router. So that if your telco router gets hacked, nobody can get past the Mikrotik router to come in and hack your users. So your WAN is now safe behind a second router and not behind the telco router. This router also provides a DNS secure server for your WAN. And the router makes sure that everybody on your WAN has to use this secure DNS server, which is a DOH protocol. So that's another protection for your WAN. And best of all, your users cannot circumvent, cannot bypass this DOH secure DNS server. Even though their operating system may specify a DNS server, when it gets to the router, it's overridden, stripped away, and replaced with a secure DOH server to prevent man-in-the-middle attacks. This router also has a very strong firewall system. You can write your own firewall rules. The router, at least the low-cost ones, come with a preset router, factory default router, which is quite adequate. And you can always modify these rules to meet any specific needs that you may have. Your users can also retain their own firewall on their own operating system. That protects that individual computer. This firewall is overridden by the firewall on the router when the data passes through the router. The router will be the traffic cop, determines what goes in and out of the router and into and out of the internet. And then your own firewall of your users can also intercede if it finds a special rule that it needs. So the system is very compatible. The router's firewall is compatible with any existing firewalls that your users may have. This router also contains a file system so that you can back up various configurations of this router. You might have a configuration for in-service, which means it's heavily protected. You could also have an installation, which is maintenance, which means you can access it easily with things such as Winbox. We'll talk about that in a minute. So by having these backups being saved right on the router itself, they're always available. Even if you have to do a factory reset on the router, the factory reset does not clear the files in the file system. So if you ever get locked out, you can always come back in, do factory reset on the router, go back and load your configuration files, your maintenance configuration file, and go ahead and make your final changes. And once you're finished, you simply set the parameters to make it the in-service system, and then you back it up again for the in-service file. This way you have two separate versions backed up. You have the in-service file and you also have the maintenance file. Mikrotik also provides a GUI interface called Winbox. It's designed for Windows, but it also runs on Linux under Q4 Wine. So this Winbox, what it does, it allows you to easily make configuration changes to the router. It has built-in protection features such as safe mode, so you can't lock yourself out. And in general, it's just an easy-to-use application to manage your router or multiple routers. You can save various router configurations and access any one of them at will. I chose this particular half-light for several reasons. First of all, it has a dual chain WAN, which means two different antennas can be used at the same time to double the throughput between the WAN connected device and the router. Another reason I chose this device is because it's powered by a USB cable, which means you can power it just about any place you go. No special adapters needed. And last but not least, this cut and paste best practices video series will only deal with version 7, the ROS 7 router OS 7. I have another playlist which deals with version 6, so you can check that out if you want to. But all these videos will be version 7, and they're designed to be quick and dirty so you can protect your LAN without a lot of effort.